Welcome to this exciting journey into human cardiovascular physiology. Today, we are going to explore cardiac output and its regulation. Imagine your body as a bustling city. Your heart is the central dispatch station, ensuring every cell gets the oxygen and nutrients it needs. We will build your understanding from the ground up, looking at how the heart perfectly balances its pumping speed and volume to keep you alive, energetic, and ready for any challenge. To understand how this dispatch station works, let us first define what it actually does. Cardiac output is the total volume of blood your heart pumps in one single minute. Why does this matter? Your tissues are constantly consuming oxygen and producing carbon dioxide. If cardiac output drops, your brain and organs are starved of oxygen, which can lead to fainting or organ failure. But when you exercise, your muscles demand much more oxygen. Your heart must dynamically adapt, increasing its output to meet this new demand. This constant adjustment is the foundation of cardiovascular health. Now that we know what cardiac output is, let us look at how we actually calculate it. The formula is beautifully simple. CO equals HR times SV. Conceptually, the total blood flow per minute is just the size of each pump multiplied by the speed of the pumping. HR is your heart rate, or how many times your heart beats in 1 minute. SV is your stroke volume, which is the exact amount of blood pushed out with one single beat. If your heart beats faster, or if it squeezes out more blood per beat, your overall cardiac output will increase. This equation is the core of cardiovascular physiology. Before we move on, let us see this formula in action with a concrete example. Imagine a patient sitting calmly in a doctor's office. We are given a resting heart rate of 75 beats per minute and a stroke volume of 70 milliliters per beat. We need to find their total cardiac output in liters per minute. We choose our fundamental formula, multiplying 75 by 70, which gives us 5,250 milliliters per minute. To convert this to the standard clinical unit of liters, we divide by 1,000. The final answer is 5.25 liters per minute. Physically, this means your heart pumps your entire body's blood supply in just 60 seconds, while you are completely at rest. Now let us see what happens to these numbers when the body is pushed to its limits. Consider an athlete running a marathon. Their working muscles demand massive amounts of oxygen. We are given a new heart rate of 150 beats per minute and a stronger stroke volume of 130 milliliters per beat. Applying the same formula, we multiply 150 by 130, yielding 19,500 milliliters per minute. Dividing by 1,000, we get 19.5 liters per minute. This final answer shows that during intense stress, the heart can pump nearly 4 times as much blood as it does at rest, perfectly adapting to keep the body fueled. Having calculated these values, let us visualize how these components physically come together. On the screen, you are looking at a schematic of the human heart. Notice the 2 input arrows on the left side. One represents the heart rate, the speed of the beats, and the other represents the stroke volume, the size of each pump. These 2 distinct physiological variables feed directly into the heart's overall function. On the right, you see a single large output arrow, representing the cardiac output. This diagram teaches us that cardiac output is not an independent variable. It is the direct, combined result of how fast and how hard the heart is working at any given second. Since stroke volume is half of our cardiac output equation, we must understand how the body regulates it. Think of shooting a rubber band. The further you stretch it, the harder it snaps. This is preload, the stretch on the heart muscle from filling with blood. Next, imagine squeezing a wet sponge. This is contractility, the inherent strength of the heart muscle's squeeze. Finally, imagine pushing open a heavy door against the wind. This is afterload, the pressure resistance the heart must overcome to push blood into the arteries. These three pillars are critical. They allow the heart to handle varying amounts of returning blood without it backing up and causing congestion in your lungs or veins. These three pillars directly influence the physical volumes of blood inside the heart, leading us to our next formula. SV equals EDV minus ESV. Conceptually, the amount of blood pumped out is simply the starting volume minus the leftover volume. EDV is the end diastolic volume, the maximum amount of blood in the ventricle right before it squeezes. ESV is the end systolic volume, the blood left behind after the squeeze is finished. If EDV increases because of a higher preload, or if ESV decreases because of a stronger contractility, the overall stroke volume will naturally increase. This simple subtraction tells us exactly how efficient each heartbeat is. Let us apply this subtraction to a real clinical scenario. An echocardiogram shows a patient's left ventricle filling with 120 milliliters of blood during relaxation. After contraction, 50 milliliters remain inside. We are asked to find the stroke volume. We chose the volume difference formula because it directly measures the ejected blood. We start with the EDV of 120 and subtract the ESV of 50. The mathematical difference is 70. Our final answer is 70 milliliters. Physically, this means that during this specific heartbeat, the heart successfully pushed 70 milliliters of blood into the aorta, which is a perfectly healthy resting volume for an average adult. Now that we have used this formula, let us use it to prove a fundamental physiological law known as the Frank-Starling mechanism. This chunk of our proof sets up the physical changes during a brisk walk. As you walk, more blood returns to your heart. This extra filling increases the end diastolic volume to 140 milliliters. Because the heart muscle is now stretched optimally, it contracts much more forcefully. This stronger squeeze leaves less blood behind, dropping the end systolic volume to 40 milliliters. We have established our new variables based on physiological principles. In the next step, we will see the mathematical result of this adaptation. Let us complete the mathematical reasoning to see the final result. We take our stroke volume formula and plug in the new values caused by the exercise. We subtract the new ESV of 40 from the new EDV of 140. This yields a stroke volume of 100 milliliters. Compared to our resting state of 70 milliliters, the stroke volume has increased significantly. This mathematical result proves the Frank-Starling law. When more blood returns to the heart and stretches the muscle fibers, the heart automatically responds by pumping out a larger volume. The intuition here is beautiful. The heart inherently prevents blood from backing up by matching output to input. We have thoroughly explored stroke volume, which brings us to the other half of the equation, heart rate. Think of your heart rate like the speed of a car. Your body has a highly sophisticated dual control system. When you are stressed or exercising, the sympathetic nervous system presses the gas pedal, releasing noradrenaline to make your heart beat faster. When you are relaxing, the parasympathetic nervous system presses the brake pedal, using acetylcholine to slow things down. Why does this matter? This rapid, automatic regulation is a vital survival mechanism. If you suddenly lose blood, your nervous system instantly spikes your heart rate to compensate, ensuring your brain never loses its oxygen supply. To understand exactly how the nervous system knows what heart rate is needed, we look at the math. Conceptually, this formula comes from rearranging our very first equation. By dividing both sides by stroke volume, we get HR equals CO divided by SV. HR is the required heart rate. CO is the target cardiac output your body needs to survive. SV is your current stroke volume. This equation tells us that the required speed is equal to the total blood flow needed divided by the volume pumped per beat. If your stroke volume decreases, the denominator gets smaller, meaning your heart rate must mathematically increase to maintain the same cardiac output. Let us see how this rearranged formula explains a life or death medical emergency. A patient suffers a severe cut, and their stroke volume drops dangerously to 40 milliliters per beat due to low blood volume. Their body must maintain a minimum cardiac output of 4,000 milliliters per minute to keep the brain conscious. What must their heart rate be? We chose this formula because we need to find the compensating heart rate. We divide the required CO of 4,000 by the reduced SV of 40. The final answer is 100 beats per minute. Physically, this rapid heartbeat, known as tachycardia, is the sympathetic nervous system driving the heart hard to save the patient's life. Conversely, let us apply this same formula to a highly optimized, healthy scenario. An Olympic swimmer has developed a very strong, enlarged heart. Their resting stroke volume is a massive 100 milliliters per beat. Their body only requires a standard resting cardiac output of 5,000 milliliters per minute. We divide the target CO of 5,000 by the large SV of 100. The final answer is 50 beats per minute. Because the athlete's heart is so incredibly efficient, pumping so much blood with every single beat, the parasympathetic nervous system applies the brakes heavily. Physically, the heart only needs to beat 50 times a minute to meet the body's needs, saving immense energy. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us review the most important ideas. First, cardiac output is the ultimate lifeline for your cells, calculated as the product of heart rate and stroke volume. Second, stroke volume is highly adjustable, governed by the 3 pillars of preload, contractility, and afterload. We saw how the Frank-Starling law brilliantly ensures that whatever blood enters the heart is efficiently pumped out. Finally, your autonomic nervous system acts as the accelerator and brakes, constantly fine-tuning your heart rate to protect your brain and organs. You now have a solid understanding of how these dynamic systems work together to sustain human life. Great job!